Guys, welcome and welcome back to our podcast. Having is the quotes. I paused. One lesson, chapter one. Introduction: Facing changes towards the 1,000 years. Take a look at map one and two. Map one was made in 1154 CE by the Arab geographical Al-Dishi. The map section reproduced here is the detail about the Indians. The section reproduced in the detail of the Indian subcontinent. From is a larger map of the world. Map 2 was made in the 1720s by a French cartographer. The two are the same maps. Two maps are quite different from two. They are often used of a same area. In Al-Dishi map, the South India is where expert would expect from the North India, and Sri Lanka is the island at the top. Place names are marked in Arabic. And Uttar Pradesh are well known as the names like Kanju in Uttar Pradesh, spell it in a map as Quarry. Map 2 was made nearly 600 years after map 1, and during which time the information the subcontinent was changed considerably. This map seems more familiar to us, and the coastal areas in particular are staggeringly detailed. This map was used by European studios and merchants on their volcanoes. We discussed on chapter 6. Look at the areas in the indicator of the subcontinent on the map too. They are really detailed into coastal on the coastals. Follow the coast of River Ganga and see how it's shown in. Why do you think there is a different level of detail in accuracy between coastal and inland areas in the map? Equal importance in the fact in a science of the cartographer different in the two periods when historicals with documents, maps, texts from the past they have gained a sensitive to be a different historical backgrounds, the contexts in which information about the past and produced. Here is an example of a map 2, and here is an example of a map 3. And map 1 is I can't give clearly, but it's similarly like this. And a new and old terminologist. If the content with which information is produced, any changes with time. What about the language and meanings historical record exist? In a variety of meaning languages which have changed considerably over the years in a medieval Christian, for example, in a different from modern Christian. The difference is not just the recognized to the grammar and work by the meanings of words also changed over time. Take the term Hindustan for example. Today we understand it as India, a modern nation state, which the term was used in 13th century by the Muhammad Siraj, a colonel who wrote in Preston he with the areas of the Punjab, Haryana and the lands between the Ganga Yamuna. He was a term in the political sensitive of the lands and rich part of the domestics of the Delhi Sultan. The areas included in this term are shifted in the intent of the Sultan, but they are never included in the South India by coastal in the earlier 16th century. Bayu used Hindustan to describe the geography, the flora, and the culture of inhabited the inhabitants of the subcontinent. As we will see later in this chapter, this is how somewhat similar in the 14th century the Hampi Khazru poet Hamir Khazru used the word Hind. While the idea was a geographical and functional entirely like uh, like India did did exist, the term Hindustan did not carry any political and national meanings which are associated with it today. Historicals today we have be careful about the terms and the because they meant different things in the past. Take for example a simple term like a foreigner. It is used today to mean someone who is not an Indian. And in the medieval period, a foreigner was a stranger who appeared installed in a given village, who was um, who was not a part of that society or culture. In Hindi, the term Parasti may be used to describe the person and the in Pakistan and Arabi. A city dweller, therefore, did be have recognized a forest dweller as a foreigner. But two Pakistan are living in the same village are not a foreigners to each other, which throughout they may have had a different religions or caste backgrounds. Historicals and their sources. Historicals use different types of sources to learn about the past depending upon the period of the study and the nature of the investigation. Last year, for example, you read about the rulers of Buddha Daisy and Haryana in this series. And this script இந்த ஸ்கிரிப்டை நான் முன்னாடியே எழுதிட்டேன். இதுக்கு முன்னாடி வந்த லெசன்ஸ் அப்புறமா இன்ஃபார்ம் பண்ணுறேன். இது season 2. Read about the following thousands years from roughly 700 to 1750. You will notice some continuously in the sources used by the historicals for the study this time period. They still rely on coins, inscripts, archives, and textual records for information, but they is also considerably discontinuous. The number of variety of textual records and increase technologies during this period. They slowly displacement others type of available information toward this period. Paper generally become cheaper and more. The value of paper. Compare the following. In the middle of the 13th century, the scholar wanted to copy a book, but he did not have enough paper. So he watched the return of a manuscript. He did not want to dry up a paper and use it. And a century later, if he bought some food in the market, you could be luckily see the shopkeeper wrapped it for you in some paper. Hand wash paper is more expensive earlier, available in the 13th century and the 14th century. Widely available. People used to write the holy texts, chronies of rulers, letters and teachings of state, Puritans and churchical records for the registers of accounts and taxes. Manuscripts were collected by the wealthy people, rulers, monasteries, and temples. They were placed in libraries and archives. These manuscripts and documents provide a lot detailed information to the historians, but they are not very difficult to use. There were no printing press in those days, so scribbles copied from the manuscripts by hand. If you have ever copied a friend's homework, you would know that this is not just a simple exercise. Sim- to get This is not a simple exercise. Sometimes you can't read your friend's handwriting and you focus to guess what is written. As the result, there are small but significant differences in your copy of your friend's homework. Manuscript copying somewhat similar. As the scribbles copy the manuscripts, they are also introduce small changes. A word here, a sentence there. These are all the small differences grew over centuries of the copying until the manuscripts of the same text become similarly different from the one another. This is a serious problem, becoming rarely finding the original manuscripts sorted today. We totally depending upon the copies of by the later by the scribbles. As a result, historians have to read a different manuscript versions of the same text to guess what the author is originally written. On the occupation, authors revised a Quranic at a different times. The 14th century Quranic Zimbabwe Bani wrote a Quranic, the first in 1356 and the another version in 2 years later. The two difference between each author, but the historians did not know about the exercise of the first version until the 1960s. He remained lost in a large library collections. New social and political group. The study of the thousands years between the 700 to 1750 in a huge change to be historical largely become at the scale of the variety of departments that occupied over the period at the different moments in the period new technologies and they appear like a piston wheel in irrigation, the spinning wheels in welding and firearms in combat. New foods and behaviors arrived in a subcontinent, potatoes, corn, chilies, teas and coffees. Remember that these all involvements, new technologies and crops came along with the people who brought ideas with them as well as result. This was a period of economic, political, social, cultural changes you will learn about in some of the changes in chapter 5. This was the also a period of a great migratory groups of people traveled a long distance in such opportunities and the subcontinent held immense wealth and the possibilities for people like fortunate one group of people came important in the period was Rajputas, a name delivered for Ra- Rajputas, the son of the ruler between the 18th and 14th centuries. The term appeared more generally a group of warriors who climbed the Kshatriya's caste status. They are term include not just the rulers and chieftains, but also the soldiers and commanders who served in the armies of the different monasteries all over the subcontinent. A tyrannic hold of the conduct that esteem varied between a great sensitive loyalty will be a quiet qualities attributed to Rajputas by the poets uh, and boys. Not a group of people such as the Mahendras, Christians, Ottomans, Kshatriyas, and caste of scribbles of the secrets are also used the opportunities of the age becoming politically important. Throughout this period, there was a gradually cleaning of forest and the extension of the agriculture change foster of the more complete in some areas than in others changes in their habitat focused many forest dwellers. To mid rather started tilling in the lands become Prestrigas. This is a new present group gradually began to influence the religion markets, chieftains, Philistines, monasteries, and temples by the becoming the part of a large complex society and requested to pay the taxes for good services and to the local lords. As the result, significant economic and social differences emerged among the peasants. Some possible more produced land, others also kept in the cattle, and some camped still work agriculture. City during the rain season, as a society became the more different, people were grouped into the juries or subcaste and they ranked on the basis of their backgrounds and their occupations. Ranks are not fixed permanently and varies according to their power and influence and resource controlled by the members of the jury. The status of the jury could be vary from the area to area. Jury is framed by a own rules and organizations to manage the content of their members. These organizations enforced with assembly of elders describing in some areas the Jari Panchayat, but the Jaris were also required to follow the rules of the village. Several villages were not governed by chieftains together, they are only a small unit of state. Religion and empire, large state, um, like those of the Cholas, Tungras, or Mungras, explained on chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4, encompassed by the religions Sanskrit Prasthani. See chapter 2 of the example of the Prasthani praising the Delhi Sultan Ghaznati Bourbon 1266 to 1286 explained that he was a ruler vast empire district from the Bengal Gutta in the eastern Gutta of Afghanistan in the West Union includes of the all the South India. Nevada people of the religions in those Gutta, Attara, Kerala, Karnataka, Maharashtra and Gujarat appeared in a freely about the armies and historicals organized to be clients of the equestrians. At the same time, they are trying to understand with the rulers kept claiming to have a control over the part of the subcontinent. And in the 1318, The poet Hambir Hazu noticed that was a different language in religion of this land. Satvi, Latin, Kastamai, Devastoi, Telanga, Telangani, Gujarati, Mabatwi, and Gujaratwi, Adiatwi, and Havayatwi. Hambir also were explained constants at these languages and as Sanskrit he was not belongs to the any religion. This was a world language common people do not know it. Only the Brahmins do. Make a list of a language melted by Ambir Kazu prepared in another listen. And another melter underline the names are similarly with the circles those who are different. Did you know? Notice that names by the language are known change over time. By the 700, many religions already possessed and direct geographical dynalogist and the own language and culture characteristics. You will learn about this in chapter 7. They are also associated with a specific ruling dynalogies. They were considerable conflict between the states, considerably dynalogies like Chola, Tantas, Monas, and able to build the empire and the pan-religion spinning diversital religion, not just the empire equal stable or successful. When the Muntaz Empire declined, the 18th century is led in a re-emerged the state. In chapter 8, but the years of the imperial pan-religious rules had been allotted the characteristics of the religion across the most of the cultivator in the characteristics of the religion across the most of the subcontinent of the religion were left in the agriculture of the big and small states ruled by over them, and this was apart from the emergence of the many distinct and shamed traditions in the essence of the governance, the management of the economic elite, cultural and the languages throughout 1,000 years, 700 and 1,750 characteristics data of the different language religions did not grow in associated. These religions felt over in part a large pan religion force integrates without ever quite losing the distinctiveness. Old and new religions, the 1,000 years of the historicals that we exploring witness and the major departments in the religion traditions, people believe in a divide was the sometimes deeply personal, but more usually it was collective belief in a suspectional agency. Religional was often closely connected with the social and economic organization of the local communities as the social worths of these grounds are altered, so two did not their belief. This is not a during period of the important changes occurs in the Hinduism, what we called Hinduism today. These are all included worship and new deals, the constructions of the temples by roughly and growing the importance of the Brahmins, the Brahmins and the Dronat groups in sociality in their knowledge of the Sanskrit text earned the Brahmins a lot of respect in the society and dominate. Positive was collected by the supported Tatars and new rulers searching for their pregnancy. And one of the major developments of the period was the emergence of the variety of the loving personal delights developing could be reached without the aids of the embellished rituals. You will be learning about this in the other traditions in chapters. This was a time period when a new religions appeared in a subcontinent, twins, and made the first brought of the subcontinent melts and to the India in the 17th century. Muslims regulated the Quran as the holy book, as accepted as a sovereignty of the God. Althon, whose loving Mekoi to brought emerged all who are believed him without merged to the social background. Many rulers were the patrols of Islam and the ultima earned terminologists and Justines and the Hinduism. Islam was distributed in a variety of the ways by its followers. They were straight Muslims who believed they are protem Muslims. Muhammad's sons-in-law Ali in the realized leader of the Muslim committee, and the Sunni Muslims are accepted authors in the earlier leaders could form in a committee and successfully confess. There are other important difference between the varieties of school law reforms and stuffers mainly in India, and they are technologically and next week traditionals thinking about the time and historical periods. Historicals do not see the times as the passing of hours or days or years as a clock calendar. Time also refers to the change in social and economic organizations and presenting as transforming of ideas and the beliefs of the study of the in the main somewhat earlier by the dividing the past larger segments periods. The positive shared changes in the middle of the 19th century. British historians divided into the history between of the India in a three period: Hindu, Muslim, and British. And this was even based on the idea of the religion of rulers was the based on the idea of the rulers of the only important historical change in there was no other significant developments in the economic, social, or culture in the divisional ignore the rich diversity of the subcontinent. Few other historical flow in a present today. Most look at the economic, the social factors, at the characteristics, at the major emergence of the different moments of the past that the historicals you read last including the widely range of the earlier society, hunting girders, earlier farmers, people living in towns and villages, earlier empires, and the kingdoms of the historicals. You will studying in this year often about describing the medieval. You will find out more about the spread of the present social and the races of the religion and the imposing formations, sometime at the cost of the patrols and the different peoples, and the development of the Hinduism and Islam. Major religions are the arrival of the European trading companies at the thousand years later of the Indian historical wellness of the considerably changes after our 16th century and 18th centuries are quite different from the 18th or 11th, therefore describing the period of the moreover medieval period are the often with the modern period and the momentary carries of the sensation of medieval progress and the interconnected agreement, and this seems to suggest the medieval period was lacking in any changes whatever, but of course we know this was not in the case. During these 1,000 years after societies of the subcontinent were transformed, often the economics in several religions reacted a level of the prosperity. The several religions reacted with the prosperity. The attending of the interested European trading companies, as you read in this book, look at of the science of the chapter and the historical process at work also witness of the you can compare what look at the reading of the book what you read in a last year, look at the map of the changes continents whatever you can look at you would around you what you has been changed or remain the same. Keywords manuscript Saudi religion Palestine and the other things we'll discuss on the last of the season. டாட்டா பாய் பாய் அது வரைக்கும் நான் உங்கள் கவிஞர் இது உங்கள் சீக்ரெட் இன்வெஸ்டிகேஷன் ஆஃப் மிஸ்ட்ரி அண்ட் இது உங்கள் சீரியஸ் ஆஃப் தி சோஷியல் history or past and tata bye bye. அடுத்த சாப்டரில் சாசியமான சாப்டர் கிங்ஸ் அண்ட் கிங்டம்ஸோட சந்திப்போம். டாட்டா பாய் பாய்.